So the first thing I want to know in this is why Angela and how Angela. First of all, it's like how we're all I don't think there's anybody who doesn't have at least passing familiarity with her story. But what drew you to wanting to make this kind of detailed examination of this period of her life?
Hi, Dana. Hi, everybody. IDA. Welcome. Thank you for staying for the Q&A. It's one of those things where I got called to do this. I made a film about Shirley Chisholm and her run for president in 1972. It was at Sundance, and people kept asking me, what are you going to do next? As a black woman who had just made a film about a black woman, I was like, definitely not another black woman. That's the only thing I was sure of. But her image kept coming up, and people would mention it, and somebody was like, why not Angela Davis? And so that it was one of those things. So I started to investigate it, and I was like, wow. I thought I knew this story and I didn't really know it, and I found it even more over the years of investigating it. But it's one of these things where I'd rocked an Angela Davis t-shirt. I thought it would be easy to raise the money because everybody knew who Angela Davis is, who she is and who she was. And so I was like, great, this is what I'm gonna do. And then it turned out that nothing about this film was easy. 8 years it took to make the film. It was very hard to raise money for a film. She was still considered dangerous, and most people thought of her as guilty.
Okay, so that's really interesting. Why did people, do you think, still view her as dangerous this many years after she was found innocent?
Well, she was on the FBI's most wanted list, and that's what we most remember. So if you actually take, and so how do I explain this? So if you stack up all the newspaper articles and all the television reports about whether she was guilty or not, FBI's most wanted list, et cetera, blah, 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 here, it's a stack about this big. And if you include the trial, but then the acquittal, it's a stack about this big. So in recollecting what happened, what most people remember having lived through it is that she's probably guilty of something. And in fact, I had more people ask me like, oh, so you have to go to Cuba to interview her? How great. I'm like, no, that's Assata Shakur. So it's one of those things. And in fact, I went into it thinking, it's been 40 years, people are slightly arrogant, not arrogant, but you feel like, okay, so much time has passed. There's got to be something that was missed, something that didn't come out. And, I got access to the FBI files. I talked to everybody who was still alive. And I was actually shocked by how little evidence the state actually had. And so it was a rude awakening for me because, like everybody else, I don't know if I thought she was guilty, but thought something. There should have been something.
So so the next question, how, Angela? It's like you said it took 8 years. What's the first step in saying, okay, you make a decision, I'm going to make a documentary about Angela Davis. What's the next step? Because it's not like you're going to Google her and all of a sudden, hey, here I am, come find me.
Yeah, so, well, I did enough research to know that it was a political crime, I thought thriller. I think what I ended up with is a drama, but a political crime drama with a love story at the center. And so I wanted her to be part of telling the story. I feel like she's alive, it'd be weird not to. It wouldn't be as good. And so it took me about 8 to 10 months to talk her into it. I mean, part of it is that she gets a lot of requests, and of course she ignored all of my requests. And it's one of those things, like as a filmmaker, you're told, oh, you shouldn't talk about your ideas, people might steal it. But I find that if I talk about stuff, good things happen out in the world. And a friend of mine was like, oh, Angela Davis, actually, I was at my high school reunion. One of her assistants was my best friend in high school. I should hook you up, one of her former assistants. And she was like, okay, you want to get to Angela? Never, not directly. This is how you do it. These are the 3 people you have to talk to. Send them a letter, send your Chisholm film, et cetera. I think this is a great idea. There should be a film about her.